Hi, I'm Laura Roddy, Vice President for Advancement here at Exploration Place. I am here today with Shane Carter, Executive Director of the Kansas African American Museum. We are excited to be embarking on our 5th collaboration together for Black History Month. So here at Exploration Place, we are using the exterior of our museum as a canvas to highlight a different African American leader in a STEM field each week in February. Shane, will you kind of tell us a little bit why this project has remained important to TCAM, or why we continue to do it?
Absolutely. As we look at young folks and what they're aspiring to be, and what the job market calls for, and what the opportunities like post-secondary beyond high school look like, there's a big push for career tech. We know that, but the sustainable piece is STEM, and what that looks like with science and technology, education, how that's used, arts, math, engineering, all that's really important. And so one of the things we want to do is give young people an opportunity to aspire to be like somebody that is a role model, or somebody that they can touch or they can actually see. And so the relevance of this project is not only to inspire, it's to celebrate the rich history and tradition, not only of Wichita, but for fellow Kansans throughout our state. And we're really, really proud because we have ties to a number of people that are worthy of nominations, but also honorees that have ties to not only Wichita, but the entire state. And so I believe it's important to tell the story. A lot of these stories haven't been told when you look back at the historical relevance of them, to be able to celebrate this so that young people can aspire and have role models. And then I think it also allows for an opportunity within your wheelhouse, what you do at Exploration Place, and the history and the arts and culture that we are very, very much so working to preserve at TCAM, and we bring those together to celebrate Black History Month.
Yeah, so we like to think of ourselves as in the inspiration business. We want to inspire, and so this is a fun one for us because we know just seeing something, what's going to be that item or that experience that's going to spark inspiration in a child.
Yes.
And so and representation matters and makes a difference. So I think it's a great partnership for us, and excited to talk more about it. So let's talk about this week's honoree, Harold Miller.
Yes. So Harold is a Wichitan. Very fortunate to be able to know Harold. A great community leader, an advocate not only within aviation, but just really a leader of inspiring young folks and to really staying relevant into what he's accomplished here. And so Harold not only is from Wichita, but spent his time here in air traffic control at the Eisenhower Airport. And so he was the first African American to man that station in air traffic control here at the airport here in Wichita. And he also is only one of what would be 1% to 2% of African Americans that are in the field. And so Harold comes with a large amount of accomplishments. Spent time in the military, was able to obviously spend time in air traffic control, had a great career there in which he influenced other minorities to work their way into that role. And as a Wichitan and as a community leader, he's very involved with St. Paul Church. And so I was able to learn this year that he was involved in multiple committees, and that church has celebrated 150 years of being here in Wichita, and was actually down on Water Street by our current home of our museum. And so he always comes with great energy, with great excitement, and with a great following. And so we're just honored to be able to give him his accolades and to honor him while he's here with us. And we're looking forward to a very exciting time to be able to celebrate all his achievements.
Kind of speak to your point, you say there's only 1% to 2% nationwide air traffic controllers are African American. It's kind of nice in that way that we can highlight that as far as just kind of showing that representation, maybe encouraging. We're hoping folks come and check it out and might be inspired to pursue that career.
Absolutely, and you spoke to it, but the canvas and the opportunity that Exploration Place allows for in this partnership with TCAM really, I believe, draws to the masses. And so we're very fortunate that for this month, that all of our visitors, our Kansans that are traveling, our local Wichitans can come and be able to see this display and learn from Harold and all of our other honorees. I think one of the important pieces to look at is that this allows for young people to aspire for opportunities that are very limited. And so when you talk about 1% to 2% of all air traffic controllers being African Americans, when we look at our population here within Wichita, we know that we have over 40,000 African Americans. It's a small percentage, but around 10% of the population. So when you think of our young people that are African Americans and minorities, for them to be able to come right in their backyard and be able to see somebody that grew up in the same school as them, sat in the same seat, the same church, participate in the same activities, I think it really makes it reality for the young people that they really can dream and aspire to be whatever they want to be.
Harold Miller certainly is a point of pride for our city, so it's exciting to honor him this week.
Our next honoree is Charles McAfee Duncan, a registered architect and a trailblazer and mentor for many.
The last name McAfee is well known in Wichita and across the nation associated with architecture, and I'm excited to learn more about how she's the second generation in her family in architecture. So Shane, tell us more about Charles.
Absolutely. Not only is Charles second generation, but Charles, her sister Cheryl, and their father Charles McAfee are the only known father, daughters, and sister sibling fellows in the history of AIA. When you think of Wichita, at least for me, I think of the McAfee name. I think of McAfee Pool. I think of some of the designs, that Charles has with the museum over at Wichita State. I think about Jackson Mortuary, who's celebrating 100 years this year. And the relevance of that name and just the excellence that Charles and her siblings have been able to carry on. With her firm in Dallas, she's a first of many in what she's accomplished. But when you look at her design work and being the first African American woman within Dallas and her role in terms of an AIA, what I look at is her service work. And there's so many things that I'm sure that from an accolade standpoint and from an achievement standpoint, as the first African American woman, she probably has 10 to 20 things that we could name off. But when I was looking at her bio, I'm so blown away by her service work with the Girl Scouts, her mentoring of the next generation of African American women, her involvement with her church, and continuing to give back. And so we at TCAM have honored her as a trailblazer because of her not only phenomenal achievements, but when we look at a Wichitan that our young people can look up to, and they can think, hey, I can design a major building, I can be a leader in the industry, I can be in a philanthropic role, in a role of mentoring, giving back. Charles and her siblings sat in the seats here in USD 259. Her mother was an educator here within Wichita, and she comes from a family of great history and great accomplishments. And so we celebrate Charles McAfee Duncan today and throughout the year because she is, regardless of her race, she is very much so a trailblazer and a matriarch that has paved the way for many.
Our next honoree is Dr. Donald Jackson, a veterinarian and fighter pilot.
Yes.
Can you tell me what led you all to nominate or select him for this?
Well, for Dr. Donald Jackson, there's a number of things, but I'll speak about kind of the three-prong approach that we really talked about as a committee. Number one, his profession as a veterinarian started his business in 1957. When you look back, over 60 years ago, the obstacles he was up against with segregation prior to the Civil Rights era, and so his education, his lived experiences, the intellectual ability to work in a capacity as a veterinarian prior to really when opportunity and platform for African Americans were there was really important. His ties not only to Wichita, where he was able to practice, but was born in Kansas City, so he has that Kansas tie. That's really critical for us in terms of qualifying for our museum. And then when you look at his involvement with the Tuskegee Airmen, and his training was on the B-25, just to really think about all of his accomplishments would be a huge feat even today. And so he was up against a lot of obstacles with segregation, a lot of obstacles with the Civil Rights era, and he was able to get his education to be able to be really very much so an impact on our community here.
And in case some folks are unfamiliar, could you explain what it means to be a Tuskegee Airman?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And so prior to the proper integration, if you will, in our armed forces, the Tuskegee Airmen went out to fight for our country, and in their training at Tuskegee, their equipment and their training and the ability to have the necessary components that I would say put a difference between separate but equal. There was definitely a liability and not the same amount of opportunities for the Tuskegee Airmen, and they were trained at Tuskegee to go out and fight on behalf of our country naturally, and a lot of them were up against older equipment, planes that had been passed down, and so when you look at their education and their training and their ability to go out and protect our country, they're very much celebrated throughout America, but for Black history to remember and to inspire all of us as far as how far we've come in the country.
Our next honoree is Colonel George Boyd, Kansan, who had a very storied career and history. Shane, tell us about Colonel Boyd's career.
Well, Colonel George Boyd not only was very much so a well-accomplished, educated man with 2 PhDs. His role was very important in that he was able to go and serve in the military United States Air Force and then return back to Wichita, and as a very accomplished Tuskegee Airman, was able to use his education as well as his experience in the military to help us not only protect our state here in Kansas, but to provide opportunities for other African Americans to aspire to not only to achieve at that level, but to open doors for opportunities both occupationally and with influence at the state level.
Yeah, I was impressed to see that over that 3-decade-plus career in the military, that he rose to colonel, that he ended up being the Kansas commander for the Civil Air Patrol. So he ended up with quite a varied career, and enjoyed reading a quote from him that said, he enlisted, and through the years, through proving himself, and then also through gaining his education on the side, he ended up with 2 PhDs and commanding as commander for the state of Kansas. So that's pretty impressive.
Very much so. And I think, I was reading some of his history. He spent a lot of time as what I would call a conduit and a vessel, connecting folks that were in the military and had ties to Tuskegee to opportunities throughout the state of Kansas. And so we celebrate him today, and are very, very much so at TCAM, very much so excited that we are able to document his history.
Well, Shane, thanks for joining me today. It's definitely inspirational to think of and learn more about these 4 individuals' contributions to STEM and science.
Yes, and these are true trailblazers that have ties to Kansas, have ties to Wichita, to aviation, to science, to engineering, to architectural. We have fighter pilots, we have veterinarians, and so to think about the impact that folks from Kansas and from Wichita have made even 60, 70 years ago to knock down barriers, to pave the way, to really build a pipeline for opportunities and successful careers for African Americans is very inspiring for us. And we just want to share this journey with all of our museum goers and all of our visitors. And I think it's a great opportunity to display the partnership between Exploration Place and TCAM, and to really be able to look at our core values and our mission and blend them together and create a great opportunity for Black History Month.
All right. We encourage, if you'd like to learn more, either visit the TCAM website or Exploration Place's website, and we've got more information on this year's honorees.